So now let's look at some examples of tempo. Now, tempo, as you may have guessed by now, is part of timing, which is a key component of comedy. So let's have a look at how some comedians deal with tempo. So lots of lovely different tempos take place in this scene. We open with this kind of zombie half asleep tempo, which he then breaks into the tempo of a morning that's bright, that's full of promise. And this tempo gives way to a panicked tempo as he gets stuck on the razor and deals with that problem, and then reverts back again to the morning happy tempo after he fixes that problem. Until we discover that he's late for the dentist, and then we go into this high, frantic, manic tempo of trying to get out the door in time. And you notice also that his shape changes along with this rhythm. His shape goes up. He's almost walking on tippy toes as he scoots around corners of the room trying to figure out what to do next. And then we stop that tempo for a moment to go back to a beautiful, slow, soft, precious tempo looking after the teddy bear before he rushes out the door again and goes back to that manic tempo. Human beings are social creatures, which means when we're under scrutiny, we don't want to stand out. So for example, if we're on stage or being filmed, we subconsciously are inclined to blend in, to not stand out, which means that actors may unintentionally mirror or match each other's tempo. So two characters may come in different tempos, but as the scene progresses, they move towards a compromised tempo. But in reality, when you have different characters or different people looking for different things, usually we would expect those different characters to have different tempos. So let's look now at an example of a clip that uses characters with different tempos.
It's always secure. Get her again. She wasn't hit, sir.
Get her on the radio, please.
Sir, she can't talk right now.
Why can't she talk?
She's vomiting in the car. She's happened, sir. We'll be
Why
there.
is she vomiting?
It happens. It could be shock.
Ron.
She might have gotten an elbow in the
Gina
stomach.
with her?
Gina put her in the car.
She's not with her.
She's got 2 other agents in the car. She's got Mike and Fred, sir. They're going to have her back in the White House.
Why isn't Gina in the car?
Gina put Zoe in the car, then stayed behind for the ID agent. Mr. President, please.
Is anybody dead back there?
We don't know. We don't think so.
What happened to your hand?
I got hit.
Oh, God. Coop, turn around. We gotta go to the hospital.
We've got to get you to the
We're
White
going to the hospital. Let's go.
I have to put you inside the White House, Mr. President. This isn't something we discussed.
This is... My daughter is throwing up on the floor in the car behind us. You're losing blood by the liter, not to mention God knows how many broken bones you got in your hand. But let's make sure that I'm tucked in bed before we do anything.
Mr. President? TW! Move! Move! Move!
So even before this clip starts, we have an implied tempo. Before we get to the actors, we hear the sirens, we see the motorcade rushing, so we know that we probably shouldn't expect the tempo of a relaxed beach house. Although, that would make a lovely contrast if that was the next scene and we were going there to talk to a character who doesn't yet know that the president has been shot. Even though the tempo within this scene is high, both the characters are at a high tempo because a big event has just happened, there's still a variance between those two characters and a variance within their own action. Each character goes up and down independently of the other character. So first we have the president who's sitting on the right of the car at a very high, almost panicked tempo, and the Secret Service agent who has to rise to meet the president's tempo to deal with all the questions that he has, but is pulled back a little bit, trying to calm that tempo a little bit in order to calm the president, to slow him down, to pull his tempo down. And he succeeds for a little bit, until the president discovers the bloody hand of the Secret Service agent, in which case his tempo rises again and he goes into his rant until the Secret Service agent notices the wound of the president, in which case his tempo starts going up. And then he discovers the blood and his tempo goes off the charts, and he aims that tempo also at the driver, trying to raise the tempo of the driver as well. Now, this Secret Service character is a great character. For those of you who've watched the series, you know that every time the president or his family's life is in danger, this character shows up and changes the tempo of all the other characters and the tempo of the scene. So I would recommend that you check out some other episodes where Secret Service agent Ron Butterfield suddenly shows up and messes with everyone's tempo. And not only does he change the tempo and bring a new tempo into the scene, but he has a different tempo for each of those different situations. So in all of these episodes where he messes with people's tempo, it's a different situation. And so even though he brings an urgent tempo, it's a different kind of tempo. In Posse Comitatus is a different tempo to Evidence of Things Not Seen, is a different tempo to the one he brings to Commencement, which you should definitely watch Commencement, not only because of the lovely tempo work from the Secret Service agent, but also the way that scene is shot. And there's a link to it, to the YouTube clip of it. Check it out. The way they've shot it, the way they've chosen to express that whole situation. It's a really great example of storytelling and using different ideas to tell a story. You'll see what I mean. But we're not going to go and check out that episode now. Instead, we're going to go on to the following scene to explore some other aspects of tempo. Tempo affects how long a character takes to process information, to change thoughts, to react to new information in the scene. And we saw that in the clip that had just passed. So even though those two characters were going at a fairly furious pace, they still allowed enough time to process information. The actors gave ever so slight gaps as the character took on information, also allowing the audience to take on that information so that the scene doesn't move too fast for us or faster than we believe those characters could move. And let's go to the next clip where we'll see some lovely examples of this and of inner and outer tempo. So watch the tempo of the main nurse character here.
Hey. Hey, your best friend's back.
Thank you for that. Cynthia. Hi. You can follow me.
She's been in twice a week for the last 3 weeks because she can't feel the baby kick. I should just tell her, ma'am, wait till 8 months, the kid will be doing the Macarena. In the meantime, this is an emergency room.
Did you really say that?
No, I'm saying I should have said that. Emergency room. Station 1.
We're coming in.
I copy that. Is this a drill?
No!
The thing is, I have a few patients, not many, but I do have a couple of kids with alcohol poisoning. We're expecting more in a bit, so this is a drill. I just assumed.
Trauma 1, blue! Trauma 1, blue! Go! Got priorities? No priorities. Put them in a van, they're going to Memorial.
Okay, people. I need you to follow this gentleman to the van that's waiting.
The sound guide cleared. There are 2 back doors and a loading dock. Put 2 units on the scaffolding and get some light out there. Ultrasound and a crash cart. Eagle's 2 minutes away.
Okay, so it's not a tropical beach scene, but it is still a nice, contrasting, slow tempo. An evening at an emergency room where they're having a slow night, able to make a few funny quips at each other. Great contrast to the blaring sirens of before. It's a great use of tempo by that nurse character. And not only external tempo or outer tempo, but also we start to see inner tempo coming through. How do we know that her inner tempo has changed, that it's gone up? Because at the moment when all that new information comes to light, it takes her inner tempo so high, it ratchets it up so fast that her outer tempo has to completely stop to take in that information. The moment the cars pull up, she freezes as her brain races to catch up with everything that's happened. 30 seconds ago, it was an ordinary night at the ER, nothing too serious, except a few kids with alcohol poisoning. And then, all of a sudden, the president's motorcade is pulling in, and she's going to have to treat the president, perhaps, and do all the organization and responsibilities that come with preparing the room for something so serious. So if we were to graph her tempo, we see that it carries on at an ordinary, everyday sort of tempo as we enter the scene until the phone rings. And she picks up the phone, still in that ordinary, everyday tempo, and then her tempo drops just a little bit as she realizes that it's the other phone, using a little bit of repetition there for the upcoming tempo drop. And so then her tempo spikes a little bit as she deals with, it's the serious phone. But then the tempo slides back down towards normal everyday tempo as she goes into her monologue about, is this a drill? We've got some other patients in here. And then the cars start pulling up and the tempo drops to the floor. Her outer tempo, that is. Her inner tempo, meanwhile, is skyrocketing. And how is that shown to us? By the outer tempo stopping. And of course some nice directorial things with music and a zoom with the camera. And then her outer tempo rapidly tries to keep pace with the inner tempo as all those thoughts of what she needs to do start racing. The body starts to accelerate. She puts the phone down. Then she makes the announcement and then she runs. And then we have all the other beautiful high tempo things happening in this room where previously the room itself had a different tempo. That's the end of part 2. Top up your drink and come back for part 3, the last part.